Richard said I'd been around for a long time. I remember when Matt was 17. I went to a county one time and they were so glad to see me because they just loved my boys. They're not my boys. I'm going to talk to you about malware and viruses. Everybody, how many of you have been hit by a virus? Okay, how many of you don't want to get hit by one? Ever again? It is amazing what people will click on, even after being told not to. What's the difference between a malware and a virus? Malware is a big term. That's an overall term, and it just means malicious software. And it encompasses a lot of things. There's going to be Trojans, worms, spyware, adware, rootkits. To you, those things mean absolutely nothing generally. I got a bug and I want to get rid of it. Well, there are ways of getting rid of it. There are ways of not getting it. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. A virus is just like a cold. It is something that you get, and it is self-replicating. It will just keep on growing and growing and growing until it takes over your computer. If your computer happens to be on a network and it's not protected, it will take over the network and it will pass it on to everybody else. It's just like you going through the schoolroom with a cold and sneezing, and the guy next to you gets a cold. And that's the way viruses are replicated, and that's why they call them viruses. Now, ever since there's been computers, there's been a guy out there that didn't like the guy that made the program. So they've been around a long time. As soon as someone creates a program, somebody tries to create something to get into it. And the guys that are writing the viruses are as smart as the guys writing the program. They're just mean. So, you get a computer virus by not being careful. The screen says there's an average of 20 viruses discovered each month. There's somebody out there writing stuff day and night. And you know of terms like Symantec and Norton and McAfee and Kaspersky. These companies are in business to write software to find these viruses and clean them off. So they're what we call a reactive company. They don't know what they're going to do tomorrow until the virus is released and attacks somebody, and then they have to go try to figure out what the virus is, how to fix it. New viruses are constantly being introduced, but the method of delivery is almost always going to be through an email, through a little link on a website. And guys, you can just go to a website and get a virus. You don't have to click on anything. Just landing on that website, if you're unprotected, can give you that virus. Downloading freeware. You know, this game is cool. Or I want this desktop clock on my computer. And it's free. Ain't nothing free. Some of them are. And if you stay on reputable sites, you can get some pretty neat stuff for free. OpenOffice is one of those things that's just, it's free. But it's a reputable company. A lot of that free stuff is going to have things in it. You open it up and download this music. You know, boy, I've been wanting this song for a long time. I can get it free over here. It's going to download a backdoor in there, a Trojan horse or whatever. Microsoft says the best way to prevent the virus is just use common sense. I'll give you a classic story. A couple of years ago, there was a virus came out called Windows 2008. And if you were not right on top of it, it looked exactly like a Windows warning. And it said, your system has been scanned and has 1,296 viruses. Click here to remove them. That was the virus. When you clicked it hijacked your browser. The only place you could go on the internet was to their site. You could not clean your computer unless you paid them $40. And if you paid them $40, it cleaned part of it, and then you had to do it again. It was a nightmare for counties. I spent probably 2 months doing nothing but virus removal after we found the right tool to trap that thing, calling the counties and cleaning them up. Doesn't just happen to you. One of our hardware technicians, one of our developers got an email. Well, the whole company got it, but they opened it because it said, "You got to see this video." The next morning they're calling, "We can't get into anything." If you get something like that, just delete it. If Uncle Joe sends you a picture of your niece and you want to see it, but you weren't expecting it, call him. "Did you send me this?" And if he didn't, delete it. If you get it from somebody that's, "I just had to forward this to you." I'm sorry, guys. You forward stuff to me, it's going to get dumped. I don't care. My sister sends me stuff all the time. I'll call her and talk to her, but I'm not opening nothing. And don't download anything from an unknown source. If you won the lottery and you didn't enter, pretty good idea that you better not open that one. And then be careful when you're trading files. We used to carry floppy disk. How many of you remember floppies? Yeah. 1.44 megabytes. And it would carry a whole program on there. I carry 16 gig in this. But I used to carry floppies in my shirt pocket. Well, they sent me an update from the office. And I went out to one of my counties to put the update in, and I plugged it in. And as soon as I plugged it in, this red window popped up and said, "Warning! This disk contains a virus." I kicked it out, took it just like this, and just crunched it and dropped it in the trash can. And then I looked around to make sure nobody was looking. I was responsible for that. Now, the office had a problem at that time. They sent that disk out, and it actually hit several counties. We actually sent that disk out, and it was replicated. We got everything taken care of. As far as they knew, it was coming from a reputable source. When we did it, we weren't careful. We have measures in order now. I can't even check my own email sometimes. They've got it locked down so tight. So be careful. Microsoft says you need a internet usage policy. Now, our business team writes out these policies. And you guys, I'm not a legalist. Most of you are adults. None of you are as old as me, I don't think. But you know how to use common sense. If you don't, and you're responsible for that office and you're responsible for that data, then write it down. During these hours, and we have this at the office, during these hours, you don't do these things. I don't want you checking email on company time, personal emails. Don't be streaming one of the worst things in the world is the weather channel. Everybody puts the weather bug down there in the bottom, and it slows your computer down, and then they call us and they say, "My computer's running slow." That's not a virus. That's just a problem. But if you have a written policy that these are the things that we're going to do and these are the things that we're not going to do, then it relieves the pressure off of everybody. You can make it as rigid as you want to, but I would encourage you to make a policy. Whether you write it down or whether you do it at one of your safety meetings or whether you do it individually, these are things that you should do. These are things that you should not do. And this just goes on. It talks about some of the pros of that. It could save you time and money. Guys, we offer a software program service, a virus service, where we will put a virus protection program on your computers and we will make sure that it's updated automatically. That does not guarantee that you will not get a virus. And unfortunately, even though you're paying for that service, it's hard to understand. If you do get a virus, we're still going to charge you to remove that virus. It's just the best option that we can give you not to get one. It's going to give you warnings. It's going to block things in the background that you never even see, that you thought it's just going to stop it before it gets there. But there are some that will get through. And if they get through, it's a nightmare. Hopefully, you don't lose any data. You just lose some time. Pontotoc District 2 got hit. We had an online backup system for them, and I'll talk about that in a minute. They got their computer rebuilt, but they gave it a different name, and I couldn't restore the data. He was down for, a week or so before we finally got everything back over one little issue. The cons against having this program and having it too stringent, it's going to create some hardships for some people that do use common sense. Because sometimes, they may want to jump on at lunch and check their Facebook and see if, their sister's talking to them or whatever, and they can't do it. It's going to create some hardships for them. So you guys work it out within the department and decide on it, but decide up front, this is what we're going to do. And then when you get hit, and, there's a good possibility you're going to, just remember, it's going to cost the county money. So you can be as stringent or as flexible as you desire. I used to work for an organization that flexibility was our motto. As a matter of fact, we were so flexible, yesterday's schedule was subject to revision. And so you can be as flexible as you want to. And this talks about some of the ways that you do it, some of the things that you might want to include in an internet policy. After using common sense, then a good software application is your next best defense. A reputable antivirus software program. I mentioned we use Symantec. We use a corporate version because we can license it by the thousands, and then we can put it on all these different stations, and it doesn't cost you as much as it would if you just went and bought it off the shelf. Norton, Symantec owns Norton now, so that's basically the same thing. McAfee has one. Panda Cloud Virus. If I'm at home, I actually run that on my home computer. It's a pretty good one, and it's free, and it's reputable. So there are sources out there, but get something on there. Because if you don't have a good virus program, the virus is going to come in and bite you. This guy has one. This is the one that we talked about a minute ago. A lot of times you'll have an advertisement for an antivirus program, and it'll tell you your system has been scanned and it has X number of viruses and Trojans and all of that stuff. This is what it looked like. If you've ever seen a Windows Defender screen, the only difference, and you can't see, I guess you can see it a little bit in this one. If you look right here, that little white mark does not appear in the Windows logo. That's the only difference in that screen, and that's the only way that they beat the copyright law. It looks just like a Windows message. The terminology is exactly the same. The screens are laid out the same. The logo is very close. When you click remove, you have just downloaded the Windows 2008 or now 2010 Trojan, and it will create nightmares for you. Don't click on it. Be vigilant. Know where you're going. If you're going to be browsing the computer, just out there looking in La La Land for different things, wait until you're at home. Mess up your own computer and not the county's.